Accepting allows you to move from a space of what should be into what is, and then choosing your own path in that. Hello, so lovely to see you again. How has your week been? Okay. So did you find it helpful to think in the hurt doesn't mean harm? Yeah, it doesn't make the pain go away, but gives you still mental freedom to approach some of those things that you may wish to do. Oh, well, I'm glad I was able to help a little bit. Obviously, it's only one aspect, and there are there are 5 skills that we are going to focus on. So we'll get there, and it's a process. And don't ever think you're not doing good enough. Just showing up here and being open how you are is great. No, you're a wonderful patient. So, moving on from understanding, the second skill that we're going to talk about today is accepting. And if you've been to a psychologist before, acceptance is huge in so much of what we deal with in life. And being able to accept things is helpful not just in pain issues, but lots of different problems and issues that we face in our lives, whether that be interpersonal or anything else. So, describing what acceptance means can be a bit difficult. It's not always the most obvious as to what's considered acceptance and what's not, and how do you go about it. Although it can be very evident when you see somebody who has acceptance. And I often think about this in terms of patients who are physically limited, who may have been confined to a wheelchair, no longer being able to walk, and that sort of thing, where acceptance is required to know that you may not walk again. You can't walk right now is for certain, but your heart's still beating, still have blood running through your body. You have the ability to smile, and so much. It's shifting the focus from what you can't do onto what you can do. And the easiest way that I have found to conceptualize this in terms of chronic pain is when the shift comes from this is awful, it's never going to end, I can't handle this, this is horrible, into what now? So it's the ability to look at the present situation and see yourself not just as a receiver of these conditions or this present plight in life, but as the actor in your life, the person who is deciding whatever cards are on the table. You're the one who gets to decide how they get played. So it's a real acknowledgement that this is the situation, that it's not concerning yourself with, I wish this was different, I wish this had happened, oh, why did this happen, oh, I'm really angry at whatever reason. It's trying to focus not on why things happened or how things happened, why you're like this, why this is bad, but focusing into the future and on what can I do now. And that's definitely easier said than done. And it's still healthy to have those moments where you just hate the world and want to have a good cry, but understand and put that in its place. That if you let that become your life, that will be your life, and that will be the person that you are. And it doesn't have to be that way. I've seen lots of patients who come in very down, very upset, angry, just having the hardest time reconciling that this is them, doesn't match their internal identity. But as you practice, instead of thinking, why did this happen, but instead trying to focus yourself into just what now, and not so much in a long-term sense, not in what's my life going to look like in 30 years, but more, okay, as we were talking about last week with understanding, okay, yeah, I'm hurting, I'm in some pain here, but I know that hurt doesn't mean harm. So what now? So does that mean I still want to go to the movies with my kids? Or does that mean I still want to go to the grocery store and buy food for a delicious dinner? So you can still say, okay, I have this pain, but what now? And maybe sometimes what now will be, what now? Now I want to lay down in bed. I want to put on some Netflix and just forget about everything. I just want to try and be distracted, which is a healthy coping skill, which we will discuss in another session. So the it helps you feel control, because while pain is not nice to feel, the feeling of losing control is something that's very psychologically distressing for anyone. No one likes to feel like they don't have control of their lives. And so accepting is putting the pain in its place. It's understanding that while you don't have control over the pain, when it comes, its severity for the most part, you do have control over what you choose to do. It's your choice if you lay on the ground or lay in your bed. If you want to lay down, but you can also continue through your pain, and that's a choice available to you. Now, the next strategy that there is for acceptance is really shifting the way you think. And before I got into chronic pain psychology, this is a method that I recommend to everyone. There is great power in gratitude. And a lot of times people think about gratitude towards a deity. So if you believe in a deity, you can direct your gratitude in that direction. But gratitude doesn't have to be connected if you're irreligious, atheistic. There is still power in gratitude, because it doesn't have to be gratitude to someone. It can be gratitude about something. And gratitude has great power in actually being able to rewire your brain, because it changes your focus. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. If you have a journal or even just a piece of paper, there are apps you can use, but I've found that most people get a little elevated and distracted anytime they go onto their phone. So I really recommend doing it with paper and pencil or pen. It also gives you a positive feedback mechanism to be able to see something on a paper that you've done. Makes you feel more accomplished, so it has a positive benefit there. So I personally, when I do a gratitude journal, I usually try to write about 5 things, but it can take practice to be able to identify that number of things each day. So I'm just going to have you start with 2. And if you don't have anything that's particular about that day, if you want to put the same thing every day, that's fine too. Quite often people will be grateful continuously for their loved ones, and so putting their names down as things that you're grateful for is completely appropriate. And you can just take that time every day to write down your gratitude for that. So the way I recommend doing it is you have your paper, and I would do this every day. You write out, I'm grateful for, and then you can just number your list 1, 2, and at 1 and 2 you put the things you're grateful for. And every day write out those words, I'm grateful for, and then your 2 things. And this will open your mind, and it literally can change the way you see the world. When you know that you're going to be writing down something you're grateful for, be on the lookout more, and you'll find a lot more than you probably anticipated at first. I know it sounds funny. It sounds like something too simple, but it is one of the most powerful practices that you can undertake. So it's very, very important, and I will be asking about your progress at our next session, okay? And I just had one more thing I wanted to go over in terms of acceptance. And it's about the word should. I just want you to just be aware of when you're thinking the word should, or when you are saying the word should. There's a lot of shame that we put on ourselves because we think we should be different than how we are. And should, in most cases, is an anti-acceptance word. There are different ways that should gets used, so it's not a blanket rule. If you're, saying to your friend, oh, hey, we should go to a movie, that's not really that context. So, but you will notice there are particular contexts where it does have that meaning. Like if I say, oh, I should have done my notes yesterday. Well, all that it doesn't help me. It's not accepting that I didn't do my notes yesterday. It's a one-way entry into a negative vortex of thought. And so if you're trying to accept, you want to pause and try and convert those statements. So if I am thinking about my notes, and if I think, oh, it would have been good if I did those yesterday, instead of saying I should have done my notes yesterday, I might say instead, oh, I didn't do my notes yesterday. What was the reason for that? And that's a much kinder way to approach yourself. It's coming at yourself with both understanding and acceptance. It's giving you a chance to maybe identify something that's a mismatch between your goals and your actions. And it allows you to plan differently or understand more why that particularly happened. So I won't use the example of the notes, but let's say earlier in the week week I wanted to get milk on my way home because then I would have it in the morning for my cereal. So the day before, I didn't get the milk, and, so on that day, I could think, oh, I should have gotten milk yesterday. But instead, I think, I didn't get milk yesterday. Why did that happen? And then I remember that it was a particularly trying day, that I was very low energy, and I just couldn't face the idea of going in, selecting the milk and paying for it. It just wasn't on my radar. I just didn't feel up to it at that point. So then it allows me to show compassion for myself, to say, okay, that's okay. That can happen. Some days you have days like that, and that's okay. And that's a huge part of acceptance as well, is accepting the past, accepting the present, and just letting yourself guide your future with kindness and care toward yourself. It's, what now? I didn't get that milk. What now? I'm in pain. What now? What do I want to do now with this pain? If I understand that hurt doesn't mean harm, that may give me a different idea of what now. But I don't need to dwell in why me and woe is me. So that is what acceptance is. So we'll be looking forward to hearing what you're grateful for. Oh, it's always the best time thinking about all the good things in your life. No, believe me, it's true, and I will be asking, so I do intend for you to do that. It shouldn't take you more than a minute or two, and it's a very important minute or two to do. Okay, then I will see you next week when we move on to our third topic, which is calming. It's a great topic, and it's good for everyone. When you learn calming skills, you'll be able to help yourself and those around you. See you then.